Hello, welcome to the Mighty Oaks Show today. Glad to have you with us once again. My name is Jeremy Stalnecker here with Chad Robichaux, and glad to have you with us as well. For those of you listening at Mojo 50, thank you for listening. So thankful for our relationship there, and appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. I would encourage you, as well as our podcast listeners, though, once this show is over, don't do it right now. You need to finish listening. But once this show is over, take some time to go over to YouTube. You know you have that tab open on your computer right now anyhow. So go over to YouTube, search for the Mighty Oaks Foundation. You can find us there. Our channel will pop up. This show and tons of other content. We have testimonial videos. We have information about the Mighty Oaks Foundation, our organization, and a lot of other things that could be helpful to you. One of the things that we have worked on is providing resources, and we sell some things on our website, some books and other things, but we definitely give away far more than we sell. And the reason we do that is because we want everyone who needs those resources to have those resources, and we consider the videos that we do, that we publish on YouTube, to be resources for you. Take some time to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when new content comes online there, and take the time then to share the content out with those that you know that might need help. One of the questions that we get asked a lot is from family members who will ask something like, I have a husband or a wife, a brother, a sister, a family member that I know that needs help, and I don't know what to do to help them. What can I do? There are a lot of things that you can do, but one of the things is just point them back to these resources. We do a lot of these videos for that reason, and have many testimonials from men and women who have struggled and have found some hope and some direction. So I want to encourage you to go there, check that out. You can also look at our social media feeds on Facebook, Instagram, just about anywhere you get social media from. And any more information you'd like about the Mighty Oaks Foundation, go to mightyoaksprograms.org. That's our website. And I push all of that up to the front because I know some of you are not going to make it all the way through this interview and this this episode. So I want you to know about those things. Those are there for you. Please check those out, and that would be awesome. A couple of months ago, Chad and I took some time on this show to do a question and answer. A lot of folks provided questions, and we took some time to answer those about trauma, about dealing with trauma, helping loved ones, again, some of those things that we produce videos about, and answer those questions. And a lot of folks found that helpful. A few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to premiere a documentary about our organization, the Mighty Oaks Foundation, which we'll talk about here in just a second. And when we did that, we had a Q&A time. And you guys know what this is like if you've ever been somewhere where someone has said, hey, submit questions for the Q&A. You get basically 0 questions. No one responds, and then you have to make stuff up. We asked for questions to be submitted, and a lot of folks submitted questions, so many questions about the work that we do and how we do it and why we do it, and we didn't have time to get through all of those during the premiere. So we have a bunch of questions tonight that were submitted by folks who were curious, and wanted to get to those. So Chad, thanks for taking some time. You've done a lot of media recently, and you're stopping right in the middle of that to jump into some of these questions, and appreciate you doing that. So many great questions and a lot of good things that have happened. Let's talk first, before we get to the question, about the premiere. Talk about that a little bit. That was a pretty exciting event. We talked about it on this show, but now that it's passed, it's almost more exciting to look back on than it even was to look forward to. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, we've, through the years have we really developed a great program on our resiliency front to help active duty service members prepare for service, prepare for the hard thing they may have to do, which is go to combat and do their job in combat, and to be resilient to that service. It's through understanding the pillars of resiliency, particularly where our strength is helping them with their spiritual resiliency, right, through the faith in Christ that we're able to offer through our programming, through our books, and then our programs on the recovery side. We've done a great job of building programs, but we all haven't, in the beginning years, have done a good job of being able to broadcast that message, because it's so hard. Because our veterans, our military, we know where they are in the military bases, but when they get out, the 23 million veterans in America, they're back in, little nooks and crannies of the United States, back in their communities. And how do we know to reach them? I mean, the VA with their billions of dollars in budget spending only reaches 30% of them.
Yeah.
And so it's been a very big challenge of how we reach all these folks. And we've tried very hard. And I think the best idea we had was to make a documentary and share the story of Mighty Oaks through the lives of some of the people involved in Mighty Oaks, myself and some other folks who've been along that journey, and then talk about what we do, not as an infomercial for Mighty Oaks, but as a message of hope for them. And so we put this documentary together, not knowing where the home was going to be. We just knew that it was going to be a tool. I think we just had faith that God was used as a tool to reach many people and let them know about hope, about restoration, about a new purpose beyond the military service, and that we could even provide a solution and a resource to them at the end through Mighty Oaks. So we put this documentary together, again, not having a home. It's a decision you and I and some of our staff members made to spend money on doing that, which every dollar we spend at Mighty Oaks, we're carefully spend it. We want to make sure it's wisely spent and it's going to be a good return on investment. When I say return on investment, not from a business, ROI seems to be a business where we can make more money off of it. For us, the return on investment is lives and families and souls.
Yep.
Is it going to be a good return on investment on it? We just trust it. So we put the money into making this documentary, and once again, God delivered, provided some incredible partnerships that came along. We were dreaming about maybe doing a premiere of this documentary at a AMC or something like that, have a local event, red carpet. But, God provided us out of nowhere, this meeting with Steve Green, if you guys don't know who Steve Green is, he's the president of Hobby Lobby.
Yep.
And also the founder of the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., 450,000 square feet. I think half of $1 billion built into the facility, about $1 billion total into this facility that him and his family have put into building this Museum of the Bible. I got to go there, see the museum, sit down, have a private meeting with my friend Jim Clock of Global Digital Releasing, and myself met with Steve and Jackie Green, another man there, Pastor Swansea, who's become a good friend of mine. We all sat there and we met and we were just talking about the museum, and I said, hey, we just have this documentary because they're telling me about there's a theater in the museum, and it's amazing theater. And I'm like, hey, we just have a documentary. We're looking for a place to premiere it. I think it'd be no better place to premiere the documentary about how the Bible helps save lives, restore families, and changes eternities than the Museum of the Bible.
Right.
And right away, we were just like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we partnered with Jim Clock from Global Digital Releasing to do their digital releasing of the documentary, which means that he's going to be able to get it on some of the streaming platforms. We don't know which ones yet, but like maybe Hulu and Tubu and YouTube and it's possibilities like Amazon Prime, which isn't showing documentaries right now, but he's going to get it on some of those places. And then we partnered with I Am Second. If you guys are familiar with I Am Second, incredible Christian content, of testimonial content. Great partner with us. They became a production partner, and they are actually hosting the documentary right now. You can find the documentary right now at iamsecond.com/neverfightalone, and they have it for 45 days as an exclusive home for it. But then we went back to where we're going to premiere it. We decided with Steve Green there, we'd premiere it at the Museum of the Bible. He hosted it for us. Their staff is absolutely incredible at hosting this event. We had I think we had 370 RSVPs, but as RSVP goes for free tickets, we had about 270 people show up, which was considered a lot to go to this place. So we had I think it's the biggest group ever to meet at the Museum of the Bible. And we didn't just invite anybody. We invited some kind of key people to come, people that we thought could help, help improve the awareness of the Museum of the Bible, first of all. Yeah. And then also, because people you have to go see the Museum of the Bible if you haven't. People
it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
And then also help promote the documentary. And so the documentary is absolutely amazing. I gave a small talk to introduce it, but before me was the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Black, the current Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, which I thought was amazing to have him there. Admiral Todd, who's the chaplain of the Marine Corps, and deputy chaplain of the United States Navy. More importantly, the chaplain of the Marine Corps.
Right, that is the more important part. And he's been a good friend to Mighty Oaks for a couple of years. Yeah.
To have those guys there and help introduce it. I got to speak. We showed the documentary. It's amazing. Obviously, I'm biased, but you have to see it.
Yeah.
Again, iamsecond.com /never fight alone is where you can see it. And then after we spoke, we did a panel. And as Jeremy said, a lot of times you do these panels and you ask for questions, you don't get them. We got overwhelmed with questions, so we didn't have time to answer them all. That's we're going to answer the rest of them here today. And then we wrapped up with Sean Ellingson, who's him and his wife own In-N-Out Burger. Him and his wife Lindsay Snyder own In-N-Out Burger. He's actually came to Mighty Oaks before because he's a veteran and was able to get up and speak on behalf of our donors. Yeah. Why him and his wife support Mighty Oaks and his personal experience. It was just an incredible night. And no one went to, they actually had to kick us out because no one wanted to leave.
Right.
And not saying that we love the Museum of the Bible, but I feel bad for the staff. They were like, "Can you guys please leave now?" Right. We have to go home. We have wives, we had families and kids to go home to. So yeah, it was a great night.
Yeah, it was. I think we were at the Museum of the Bible the week after, or the week of Washington, D.C. kind of opening back up, saying you can go back. And so it was new for a lot of people that just to get together and spend time together was awesome. It was really cool. And in the documentary, we did spend money. We've done all of these things. But again, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's a resource. We did it so that it would be a resource. For some, it will just be encouraging and be hopeful. For others, it might be that bridge that helps someone who needs help see that there is help and then come to a place where they can receive that. So definitely encourage everyone to check that out. On our panel, we had Chad and Kathy, Chad's wife, of course, and General Jerry Boykin was on that panel as well, answering questions. He's from our Board of Advisors. Sergeant Major Carlton Kent, 16th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, also on our Board of Advisors, was there as well. And he's been on this show. He's just been an incredible supporter of the Mighty Oaks Foundation. And then General Bob Dees, also on that panel, also on our Board of Advisors. And I made kind of a joke. It's not really a joke, kind of a joke. That General Dees is the guy who's written the book on spiritual resiliency, because he's written an entire series on spiritual resiliency and developed a program that graduate students can attend at Liberty University. So an incredible panel of folks answering these questions. So Chad and I are going to do our best, but we're not as good as those guys. So if you missed it, you missed it. We'll just do our best to answer the questions, though. But some great questions, and always love to answer these. So let's jump into these, Chad. Some good ones, and I'll just start at the top of my list and work down. Here is the first one that was asked. Do most of the people who start the program already have a relationship with God? And I think we've talked about this before, but this is one that comes up again and again. Do most of the people who attend already have a relationship with God? Here's another way to say that. Is your program only for Christians or people that agree with you? How do you address that? I think it is an important question.
I mean, for me, I've asked this question from time to time from Brandon, our national programs director, and because I want to know too. And one of the reasons I want to know is because I don't want that number to be 100%. I don't want us to ask that question, and then 100% of the guys say they have a relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy if everybody on the planet had a relationship with Christ, but right. For me, I know that's not the case. So, are we reaching people who are not Christians? Because if we're not, then we're kind of missing who we're going after. Not that we don't need to help other Christians, but we're missing the lost. And so I want to make sure that we are always having people that come to Mighty Oaks that don't see the world we do, who hasn't found a relationship with Christ yet. That's part of who we're called to reach. I believe who Jesus called us to reach. Yeah. And so from all indications, we still are about 50% of the people that would show up at Mighty Oaks would say that they either are agnostic or atheist or something else. We even had a Satanist show up before, actual active deacon in the Church of Satan show up before. We've had all kind of people show up. I think, but just to sum it up, at least 50% of people that come would say they don't agree with what we agree with on day one.
Yep. Yeah, we have and I think there's a misunderstanding kind of even more broadly about who attends our program. Not only is it not all Christians, and even those who would say they are Christian, they profess faith, would probably, at least most of them, not all of them, but most of them would say, I believe in God, I have a relationship with God, I am a Christian, but man, I've been away from him for a long time. I haven't been to church in years. I'm angry at God because of something that happened. And so this is not a church program in that sense. And I think a lot of people think that it is. It's definitely not. And that's not our intention that it would ever be that. We just want folks who are hurting and broken wherever they come from to find hope and help, and we can point them that way. And with that, the question that could be asked along with that is, does everyone who attend have a combat background? And the answer to that question is no, they don't. We serve veterans and active duty service members and first responders, and they come from as many places as you can come from in those communities, and we just do our best to meet them where they are and help them. So truly, we say this, our program is for everyone who falls into one of those categories, or they're married to one of the people in one of those categories, they're a spouse, and we'd love to serve those folks.
Yeah, but I think it's important to combat veteran peace. I think, it's good news that the wars have wound down. We see less and less combat veterans in the active duty ranks.
Right.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, military life doesn't have a lot of hardships.
Exactly.
I think just in general, like when you think about doing a job that you do in the military, we prepare for war or train for war, the art and the act of, killing humans, and bad guys, human beings were never intended to do that kind of thing or
right.
see the kind of things. And so I think there's, if you're not in the right place, there's spiritual consequences for that. And that's where Mighty Oaks can really help. And now I will say that most of I think 99% of our staff right now, the team leaders are combat veterans. And the reason we have continued to do that, and we'll do that as long as we can, is because when a combat veteran comes, we don't want them to disqualify the team leader for not having that shared experience. It's probably not valid because
right.
I think somebody that didn't serve in combat can. In fact, my mentor Steve Toth helped me. He never served in the military, much less combat. But I think oftentimes it is an obstacle. So as long as we can, we'll make sure that our team leaders are combat veterans.
Yeah, it's really interesting. People don't think that you can mix groups of people and it work, but certainly it does. That takes me to another question. I know it's on here. I might have missed it on my list here, but related to the first responders that attend our program, because it's kind of a related question. And first responders it's a very broad category, of course, but we do serve those who would be firefighters or police officers, EMTs, kind of all over that spectrum. And you can make the case that they're not combat veterans in that sense. Maybe they haven't experienced combat, as in they've gone to a foreign country and had to deal with a foreign enemy. But just the grind of dealing with the things that our first responders deal with creates trauma, and it's a sustained trauma, sometimes over 10, 20, 30 or more years. And that's why, years ago we decided to work with those in that community, because although their trauma may be different, their trials and difficulties may be different, it's very similar. The answer certainly is the same, and our community is able to work to help them as well. I think that's been an important aspect of definitely our growth over the last couple of years. We could talk about this one all day. Do you ever conduct outreach with someone who has been referred but is reluctant to attend? What advice would you give to encourage someone who might be reluctant to attend a program like this one? And I think we may have even talked about this a little bit, but do you ever conduct outreach with someone who has been referred but is reluctant to attend? Every single day.
It was on the tip of my tongue. I was like, every day.
It's all of the time. And there are a lot of reasons people are reluctant to attend, right? I mean, sometimes they're reluctant to attend even though they need the help, they want the help, they are going to go, but they're reluctant because they know what that means.
Sometimes the ones that are eager to attend, we kind of don't want them there.
Yeah, the ones who want to be there, it's kind of like, maybe you're misunderstanding what we do here. This is not for you. So I think everyone is reluctant to some extent, or should be. The question is why, and I think that reluctance sometimes is because they either don't think they have a problem, or they know they have one, but they've become so comfortable kind of living with it that they don't want to move on. So how do you address that? I think this goes back to what does a family member do, a loved one do to help someone who's reluctant to get help? How do you help them?
Yeah, I think first of all, this is not a cop-out, but it needs to be said. You can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped.
That's right.
painful lesson that I continue to learn. We try. We have to try because we can't make the decision for them if they want to get help or not.
That's correct.
And I think in that that's a decision only they can make themselves. And I think that effort to try, we've tried to make it as easy as possible. The show, Mighty Oak Show, was born with that in mind. People that will never fill out an application,
right.
The things that we're talking about in the programs. How can we reach the ones that don't want to come? Well, let's do a show and talk about some of the things we talk about in our programs.
Yep.
The books you and I have written, which, it's not easy to write a book. It's a lot of work to write a book. It'd be much easier if they just came to us and came to our program. But we know they're not going to come. So let's write a book that a family member can hand to someone that won't go to a church, that won't come to one of our speaking events, that won't come to my Oaks program. Mm-hmm. And so we make those resources available. And then, I'd always say, put that flyer in their hand. You never know. Put that flyer in their hand, and you never know. You may think there's no way that I'm going to give them the flyer and they're going to come. But I can tell you, and I know you can too, Jeremy, hundreds of guys have came because someone that didn't think they would ever go stuck a flyer in their hand. One of the coolest stories I remember is Michael. What's Michael's last name? Michael that rode the bike across the country.
Oh, Mike Purdy.
Mike Purdy.
Mike Purdy. Yep.
Mike Purdy rode a bike across the country, and he's like, I'm going to raise $100,000 for you guys, and he painstakingly rode a bike all the way across the country through the snow in Colorado, and he might have raised like not 100,000, might have raised like $100. I don't know. It wasn't a lot. And
he hates riding bikes too, by the way. Don't even bring it up, or he'll be mad. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like so bummed. He thought like it was such a failure on his part. And I was like, no, man, it was awesome. Like you got to go around. He made these stops telling people about Mighty Oaks. I got a CD in my hand. Like he had these, this isn't his CD, but he was like handing CDs out during his trips. And then it was the coolest thing. Like months after he rode, maybe like 6 months after he got done with that bike ride. This guy, this Marine who's like pretty burned, gets up and starts telling his testimony. And he says that he had decided he was going to take his life. He had got enough. He had started drinking whiskey to build up the courage to pull the trigger on a shotgun that he was sitting in his recliner with. So he had a shotgun in his recliner, drinking whiskey, trying to get himself enough courage to pull that trigger. And he looks, as he's sitting in his recliner, looks at his television. On top of his television is a CD that his dad gave to him and told him about this program, Mighty Oaks, and said, and his dad thought he would never listen to it, never watch the CD. He didn't do anything with it besides just sticking on his television. Wasn't ever going to look at it. But in the midst of him about to take his life, he's like, let me pop that CD in.
Yeah.
He popped that CD in. And then after that, he called his dad over and said, "Can you come get my guns because I don't trust myself." Signed up for Mighty Oaks and came through the program and ended up, giving his life to Christ over it. His dad would have never thought that would ever happen. But only because he was just, loved his son enough to give him that CD, hand him a flyer. And you just have to trust that, and it's hard for me I'm a parent too. And sometimes you just have to trust that, God's in control and our kids and our loved ones, our, friends, they'll make decisions, that you never think they'll make in those dark moments alone. But in those dark moments alone, they have to have a lifeline. And one of the things we could give them as a lifeline is a resource. I have somebody right now that I know is struggling. They don't want to hear anything about faith. Yeah. And I just sent them a Franklin Graham 24-hour anxiety prayer line. I don't think they're ever going to call it, but when they are in that dark moment in the middle of the night and they're having bad thoughts, at least they have something there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's it's not a cop out, but we do what we can do.
Yeah.
And give them the resources we provide. We put a lot of effort in these resources. And one of them is this documentary. Send them a link to this documentary. You never know when they're going to click play and watch it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and you can needle someone or hound someone or whatever. It's so much better to hand them a book or hand them, like you said, a flyer or something else that can be a help to them. And I would say, we sell these things, not the flyers, but the books and some of these other resources. But if you are in that situation and someone that needs it and you can't afford the, whatever it costs to buy one of those books, go to our website, get on the info at mightyoaksprograms.org. There's a link there on our website, and let us know. I really need to get this book to a friend, to a loved one. I can't afford it. Can you send it to them? And we'll send it to them. We want to make sure that it gets in their hands, and so we definitely want to partner with you on that. Don't ask us to call someone who's mad at you for recommending the program. That never works out real well, but we'll be happy to get a resource to them, and hopefully that will be a help. And I hope that, man, they can be encouraged with that, and there is a lot of hope there. So do that. Another question. This is a good question about the resiliency training that we do, and so maybe you can talk about this. I know this for you, Chad, is a big area that you really enjoy doing. How difficult has it been to convince the Army and Marine Corps to allow Mighty Oaks to provide resiliency training? We could put the other services as well. In fact, the Air Force probably has been the biggest recipient of resiliency training from us. We speak in other places, but resiliency training. Maybe take a minute to talk about how we got into that and some of the incredible opportunities we've had through resiliency training and speaking.
I think for us, it happened pretty organically.
Yeah.
When I first felt called to do Mighty Oaks, I was a veteran. And so, you kind of heart matches where you are. So I'm like, I'm a veteran. I want to help other veterans. And then, I started looking at the numbers and realized, at the time it was, you might have heard us say it sometime, 23 suicides a day. Because at the time when we started this, there were 22 active veteran suicides and 1 active duty suicide.
Right.
And so in looking at that at the time, I was like, well, if 22 of these guys are killing themselves after they're out, what if we catch them while they're still in? And then we catch them in the transition, while they're transitioning, before they transition out, while they're still at 1 suicide a day, because something's happening when they're out. And so we kind of shifted, in the military terms, would be like left of the bang, right? We shifted left, continue to go left, try to be more preventative. Yeah. And started catching guys transitioning. And that was initially at the Wounded Warrior Battalion of the Marine Corps, who allowed us to have access to their guys. So these are transitioning guys. And then that thought kind of developed further. And how about before they get to the Wounded Warrior Battalion? Let's catch them, be more preventative, and catch them while they're still maybe coming home from deployments. And then it shifted to pre-deployment, talking to them pre-deployment before they deployed. And then we get all the way to the beginning where, for 6 years now, the Marine Corps has allowed me to speak at Marine Corps Boot Camp to the brand new recruits, and you speak to thousands of those kids there. We've spoken to about 150,000 active duty troops through the effort. Yeah. And that's our resiliency effort. It's a preventativeness. There's a saying, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, right? It's better to prevent something. It takes a lot less effort to prevent something. You're never going to know the results of it. It's like having a security guard outside of a bank.
Right.
How many robberies do they prevent?
Yeah.
You never know, right? So we don't know what the success of that is. We just know that we're getting out in front of it. We're helping prepare these people, these young warriors in the very front end, to understand how to be resilient, how to be combat ready, not just mentally and physically, spiritually, socially, what all that actually means and how they can be intentional about applying in their lives. And I believe it's had an incredible result. We hear feedback all the time. Yeah. From guys who come back from deployment and like, hey, thank you for what you said in boot camp.
Right.
Thank you for what you said during my pre-deployment brief. I read that book, Path to Resiliency, that you gave me, and they've really seems like it's resonated and been helpful. Yep. And we're going to continue to do that because it's my goal as the resiliency guy of our organization. It's my goal to put our program side, our recovery side, out of business. And if I could, end all this with prevention, then that's what we'll do. Right. I know it's a kind of unrealistic goal, but I'm shooting for it. I hope to lay off our programs team one day.
I remember
Sorry, guys.
One time I made this statement, if every veteran in America attended our program, we could end veteran suicide. And I remember someone pushing back on that, saying that's not possible. Like, well, yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it is, but it should be our goal. And that's, I think the same thing with resiliency is we're going to do our best to end as much of this as possible. What's been interesting too, and there's a lot of hopelessness around the government right now, and I think there probably should be in a lot of ways. And there's even a lot of hopelessness around our military and some of the policies that our military is embracing right now. But I'll tell you from my perspective, particularly as it relates to resiliency training and having us come and speak to the active duty components of the military, I'm really hopeful because it's not the military that's having us come and do these things. It's not the Department of Defense. It's military unit leaders. It's people who are responsible for others. They're having us come because they don't care how it gets done. They want to provide the best help possible to those that they serve. And that continues to happen regardless of what peripherally may be happening as well.
And unit commanders, just so you know, like, not you, Jeremy, but people listening, just so you know, like, unit commanders, they have the discretion of how to care for they're trusted with the discretion of how to care for and prepare their troops. And with that discretion, they could utilize resources like Mighty Oaks. Now, they have to trust us that we're going to go in there as a faith-based organization and would not go to mandatory events that everybody's forced to sit down at it and proselytize to them and try to,
that's right.
Do an altar call at the end. We're respectful of that. We and kind of what it looks like for us is we take the military's 4 pillars of resiliency. I said it earlier: mind, body, spirit, social, and we go through those. We help them understand what those 4 pillars of resiliency mean. Yep. What does it mean to be mentally tough, physically tough? Those things are important in the military. We're not discounting those things. They're very important to be motivated, know your job well, have some mental fortitude. It's important to have a strong body, to be physically prepared to do your job, to be able to shoot, move, communicate. Socially, it's important to surround yourself with the right people, to peer to peer, weed out the weak people and bring everybody up to par. But a spiritual foundation is important too. And so we talk about all these things, and we say what a spiritual foundation means personally to, like, for me, when I'm speaking, I say, and for me, my spiritual foundation is based on, my relationship with Christ. And I didn't have that, and I fell on my face. And that was the main thing that helped me recover. And so I'm able to share from a personal testimony. And again, we do it in a way that's not, we're not evangelizing. We're sharing what that spiritual pillar looks like in our lives. And we've never had any pushback. Again, 150,000 active duty troops we've spoken. Many of them would not agree with us with our position of faith, but we've always been welcomed back, and we never had, not one complaint. And so, I think the commanders have learned they could trust how we handle that delicate subject in the military.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's been a great opportunity for us, and I hope that, and I know it has. It's been an incredible help to many folks who are serving, and thankful for the opportunity to do that. This next, there's kind of a couple of questions that revolve around the same thing, so I'll jump into this and kind of pull this together. 2 things: do you support husbands of female active duty or veterans, and why would a spouse attend Mighty Oaks? And are female veterans integrated with spouses? And I can jump on that, and Chad, obviously, if you have something to add here. If we had one of the ladies from our women's program, they could come and spend 3.5 hours breaking these questions down for you. But broadly, yes, we have a women's program, and it is interesting. We started as a men's program because it was started by men who were reaching out to other male veterans. We continue now even to have men's programs and women's programs because, big surprise, men are a lot more honest when there aren't women around. And I would imagine women are also more honest when men aren't around. So it gives us the opportunity to speak to where they are. And we're thankful for the opportunity to do that. But because for a couple of years, all we had was a men's program, some people think that's all we have. We have a very robust women's program, a number of women's sessions each year. We have women speakers who are engaged in the work that we do. And so we've been blessed to be able to reach out to, many spouses, veterans, active duty service members, and first responders in the female community, and grateful to do that. So a couple of questions here, and I'll try to answer all of them. And again, Chad, if you want to jump on these, that would be fine as well. But do we support the spouses of the female veterans? Do husbands attend these programs? And the answer is yes. Math is something that we deal with. And so there are far more female spouses than there are male, but when they attend, they're able to attend our program. For the same reason that we integrate veterans and active duty service members and spouses in our women's program. Because really our goal is not to teach men or women to be better Marines or soldiers or sailors or police officers or whatever the case. What we're really trying to do is come to a common ground and a common understanding that regardless of what your past may be, what you may have dealt with, and how you arrived at this place, the path forward is the same. It is aligning your life to the life you were created by your Creator to live. And so wherever it is you come from, that's the path forward. And so we're able to integrate that well. And it's taken some work, but we do our best to communicate that as well. And just like in our men's program, we have combat veterans speaking, we have first responders speaking, we have folks who can speak to that community. It's the same on the women's side as well. We have veteran team leaders and leaders of active duty as well, and first responders. And so very much the same direction. And man, when you start to really understand that your identity is not the job that you had or have, but that your identity is what God created you to be and do, it changes everything. And that's our goal with the men. That's our goal in our women's program as well. And we've seen great success there. So yes, spouses are able to attend. When a spouse attends, it's not about them learning more about the person they're married to and how they can go back and fix them, although they will gain some perspective that's helpful. It's really learning how they as a spouse can, again, be the person that God created them to be, how they can move forward in what God wants them to do. And in doing that, that helps their relationships as well. So a lot of pieces there, but we've seen great success even with spouses on both sides. I don't know if you have anything to add there, Chad, but there's a lot of work that's gone into all of these programs, and our women have done an incredible job on the women's side as well.
I think what it just really comes down to is the understanding that, we say it to the students when they first get there, your job is irrelevant to why you go to a program like Mighty Oaks. It's not your job's not your identity. Your identity is, the man you were created to be, the woman you were created to be. And if we get past your occupation, we could actually get to the root foundation of your life and be able to help. And so segregating people based on their occupation is only harmful to the process.
Right.
The methodology that we use.
Here's a question here I'll let you answer related to finances. In order to make Mighty Oaks get to where it needs to go, what is the annual financial donation goal? And you can answer that however you'd like to, but one of the things we've had the opportunity to do is, since the beginning, provide the program for free and cover the cost of travel to get men and women to our programs. In order to do that, though, we have to raise money, and it does cost something to do that. So, Chad, what are some of the financial goals for Mighty Oaks so that we're able to continue to do the work that we do?
Well, my goal this year is a $4 million fundraise. I think we'll do about $3.5 million of programming. You being more closely on the budget every day than I am, you could probably validate we're probably about $3.5 million of programming in 2021.
Yep.
And so if we could do $4 million this year and have a $500 surplus for the year, that really $500,000 surplus for the year, that really propels us into next year.
Right.
One of our big fundraising goals is always at the end of the year. We have our big gala in Texas. If you're in the Texas area, or people fly from all over the country to come to our gala.
Right.
October 16th in the Woodlands, Texas. Myself, Jeremy will be there in the event speaking, and then we have Steve Green from Hobby Lobby. We just talked about him earlier. He's coming as our keynote speaker.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be in the Woodlands. You can go on our website and find information. I think the direct website is mightyoaksprograms.org/TX Gala, and you can learn more about the coming to the fundraiser, or save yourself a trip and just write a big check, put it in the mail, send it to Mighty Oaks, or you can donate online.
Yeah.
We're a 501c3 nonprofit, tax deductible. About 80% of our money raised goes to programs, 20% overhead, and that's about where we're at. It's between 75 and 80%.
Yeah.
And then if you designate to our program scholarship fund, 100% of what you donate will go in our program scholarship fund.
Right.
Again, it goes to put a warrior through a program. It costs about $2,500 to put a warrior through a program, and then on top of that, we pay for everything. There's not a penny paid for by the warrior, including travel, which is important because we take all the obstacles out of the way from the help.
One of the questions that was asked a couple of times, and I have those both here, is do you raise money through the federal government or through the VA? And the answer is no. I don't know if you want to address some of the kind of the struggles. It's not a struggle, I guess. God's been very good to us. But some of the reasons we have not yet. We have not yet. And so we have to depend, and it's been great to depend on donors who get behind what we're doing.
I mean, the short answer is there's not much available. I've worked in DC quite a bit over the last few years, working on some public policy. We worked with the last administration to get executive orders to bring faith-based programs back into the VA. But honestly, the whole system with faith-based programs in the VA is backwards. The VA Office of Faith programs is essentially using faith. Essentially, what that means when the VA has Office of Faith programs, is they go out to churches and they go out to veterans, faith-based veterans service organizations like Mighty Oaks, and they go out to them and use their platforms to share clinical programs in the VA. So they're not bringing faith solutions. When they say faith-based Office of Faith programs in the VA, they're going through a faith platform to reach the faith audience to offer clinical solutions.
Right.
It's not the other way around. They're not offering the veterans and the Veterans Administration faith programs. It's a completely backward system. They have not given any funding specific to faith programs. There's very little funding that goes to PTSD programs. All of them that do require clinical oversight. And we have chosen as Mighty Oaks to not be a clinical program for several reasons. One, for the sanctity of the relationship between us and the veterans, not to have to report. I mean, we have aviators that come to our program, and they went to mental health. They would be pulled off flight status.
Police officers, others who are serving.
Police officers, yeah. I mean, we have people with special operations that have top secret clearances, and they're worried about if they go to mental health, they could lose their clearance and their job, so they won't get help. But at Mighty Oaks, they can come because it's not a clinical program. In addition, there's lots of clinical programs out there for them. They have lots of options for that. We want to offer a faith-based spiritual solution. We believe that trauma, particularly in our case, combat trauma or just trauma in general, is a spiritual wound. And a spiritual wound requires a spiritual solution. Yeah. And so we're able to offer that in a very siloed way. We say laser focus on that. And with that, there's not government funding available for that. Not any that we would have to compromise who we are and what we do. And we're not willing to do that for any amount of money. Yeah. And so the answer is no. But we've been, like you said, we've been blessed. America is a grateful nation who loves our warriors. I personally believe, this is my personal belief, that if the government's not going to do it, we shouldn't be mad at the government, or it's the government's responsibility. I believe this is America's responsibility. These guys and gals came from different parts of America. They came from your communities, wherever you're at. They came from your community. They went out, they provided a service to our nation, to defend our nation, whatever their job was. Right. And now they're coming home to your community. And communities have responsibility for taking care of these folks when they come home. Most of them are going to end up in churches or groups looking for help. And hopefully churches can use us as a resource, but that requires a cost. It comes at a financial cost. And so we're leaning on you guys as a community to help us. Sponsor, make a commitment for your family once a year to sponsor one warrior a year, $2,500 a year, or if you have the means and ability, sponsor a program. Write a $35,000 check to pay for a program. We need the help. We're going to keep doing what we do, which is programs. We do it really well. We have an amazing staff, but we need the financial resource to make it happen.
Yeah. And for anyone who is interested, in addition to providing resources, a lot of our media and a lot of our marketing is to kind of pull back the curtain and show everyone, this is what we do. This is what you're giving to. We protect the students, we protect the stories, we protect that. But in terms of what we do and how we do it and how often we do it and how much we spend to do it, all of that's available to anyone that would be interested in those things. And so we want to be transparent because we consider ourselves stewards of what is given to us. It's very important that we steward that well. And because of that, I think we've had great relationships with our donors because it's a relationship. It's not just someone dumping some amount of money into a program and not having any idea what happens with that. We do our best to really be careful with that relationship, and I think it's been great. And it's been maybe a struggle at times. It'd be nice if the government would pay to take care of the folks that they send to war, but they don't. And so we have an opportunity to work with those who do, and it's been fantastic. Here's one that it's not off topic, but it's not specific to what we do. And you answered this one during the actual Q&A. But I think this is one a lot of people want to know the answer to. What practical things can ordinary citizens do to support veterans in community and family? So apart from supporting organizations like Mighty Oaks, what can ordinary citizens do to support veterans in their community? I think a lot of people, we live in different places, but we both live in very conservative, patriotic communities. I think people are always looking for opportunities to do that. How do they do that?
Yeah, I think I think America does, regardless where you live, I think America does a good job on those special days, right? On Veterans Day, we honor our veterans. 4th of July, we celebrate our independence, and we thank a veteran for maintaining our independence. We didn't just get it. We continue to earn it and defend it. And then Memorial Day, is another day that our nation kind of remembers those who we lost to pay for that freedom. So I think we have some holidays that really honor it, but I think on a daily basis, some veterans are different about the thank you for your service thing. I love being told thank you for your service because it generates a conversation for me to talk about the military. But I think just letting veterans know you appreciate them, and then veterans in the community, letting them know that you as a community are there for them. If you're part of a church, and make sure that church is I think a great place to make a veteran feel part of a community again. When they transition out, they leave a community of the military and like that brotherhood aspect, and they kind of long and miss that. I think inviting them into some type of community. Aside from Mighty Oaks, I do jiu-jitsu. I love welcoming veterans into that jiu-jitsu. They get that brotherhood, that camaraderie. Right. You see them become part of a church family. And so those type of things I think veterans really appreciate. I think the most important thing that our communities can do for veterans is, especially at a time, we've been at war for 20 years. And so Mighty Oaks exists because so many people are struggling and need the help that we offer. Yep. Have a resource to point them to when they're struggling. You don't have to have the answers. Don't feel like you have to have the answers. If you had all the answers and everybody in the world had the answers, then we wouldn't need to do what we do. Right. You don't have to have the answers. You just got to know where to point them to. And now, listen to this. You have a resource. If you need flyers from Mighty Oaks, email info on the website is email them, ask them to mail you some flyers. They'll mail you some flyers. Stick them in your glove box or your car. Put them somewhere where you have them available. Meet some veteran that's struggling. Hand them that flyer. Point them to where to get help from. You may very well save their life. Literally save their life. Right. Help restore their family, change their eternity. That's the biggest advice to give. Have a resource to help them when they come. Yeah. Home. Yeah, that's good. I think more broadly, and sometimes you talk to this too, but and then more broadly, enjoy the freedom that the men and women who have served our countries have served to protect, to defend. We're living at a time where the best thing you can do for those who have served may very well be to stand up for liberty and stand up for freedom and really protect what they have given to you. And I think that's important as well. Communicate this to your kids. I get weird about the thank you for your service thing too. It's always hard to know what to do. But when a little kid comes up to you and says thank you for your service, that's because they had a parent that taught them that, hey, liberty is not free and freedom is not free. And there are some people who went forward and did that. So just take it seriously in your own life. I think that's something you can really do to thank those men and women who have sacrificed. And that's such an important aspect as well. I think we got most of the questions here. Maybe we have one or two remaining, but we're running out of time. So to wrap this up, Chad, talk about the premiere one more time. Where can people watch it and get it? And anything else you'd like to close with? Well, the premiere was, the one night thing at the museum. Yeah, I guess not the premiere. Yeah, the documentary. You can't get the premiere, it's over. The documentary. Unless you have a time machine. If you do, let me know, because I got some things I need to get done. Things I gotta get some rights. I gotta some wrongs. I gotta go back and make right. You can go to iamsecond.com/never-fight-alone. I Am Second is an amazing website. It has tons of great Christian content and testimonial content. But if you go there, iamsecond.com/never-fight-alone, you'll be able to see our documentary there. You can cast it to your TV. If you don't know how to cast it to your TV, ask one of your kids, niece or nephews, they'll show you. Find a 4-year-old somewhere, they'll help you out. Yep. You cast it to your TV right through your phone. And man, They did such a great job with them. So proud of it. Hope you guys will enjoy it. Let us know what you think of it, and then pass it on, forward it on to somebody, forward it on to a veteran. I believe every American in the country needs to see this documentary and know that there's hope for our veterans and be able to have a place to point them to. I pray you'll watch it. And also, please, if you feel inclined after you watch it to support us, then definitely, we would appreciate your support and trusting us with that, so we can continue to work we do for every warrior we can help.
Yeah, it's awesome. The only thing I'd add is, again, all those resources, they're available to you. It drives me nuts when people say, there's nothing we can do. We don't know how to help people. There's nothing available to us. We spend every day of our lives producing content and providing those resources to you. So please take advantage of those. And if there's a shortfall somewhere, let us know. We'd love to help you. And anything we can do to support those who have served or are served, and we'd love to do that. Again, thank you for watching. For those of you that are listening and not watching, take some time in just a minute when we say goodbye to go over to YouTube, find our channel, Mighty Oaks Programs on YouTube. You can find our channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment, share the content out with others. That would be awesome. Go to our website, tons of information there as well that we'd love for you to have available to you. Thank you, and we look forward to talking to you next week.